Hi everybody, Jill here with my next video. I decided to work with gouache today. I have worked with gouache before, I love it. Christy Sobolewski, of course, at Gulf Sprite was the one who turned me on to gouache. She had a whole month-long passions class. She changed her classes to passion, where you got a lesson every week, and the whole month the series was gouache, and I loved it. I did some beautiful portraits. I've done a little bit of work afterwards, not much, but I haven't used it in a long time. So today I thought I'd do a portrait, hopefully real time. It might be a long video, so brace yourself. I thought I would go start to end with a gouache portrait. I'm using a Pinterest picture. I don't know if you can see that, what the glare from the lights is like. I'm not planning on my picture turning out exactly like her, but I'm using her as my reference for head shape, sort of some hair. I'm going to put my iPad over here while I work, so I can look at it. And here we go. There are a lot of videos out there on how to draw faces. So I don't know if I'm so much going to teach proportions of a face. I'll just show you how I do it. She's slightly tipped. If you notice, I didn't go completely flat, horizontal on the paper. So let's see. And I don't have to worry about my grid lines being too dark because gouache will cover everything up. Now, obviously, that's way too long. So, if I do grid lines at all, I basically only do the eye and center line. So, I can keep everything from getting too wonky. I always start with the eyes. Now, this is not what her eyes look like in the picture. Just basic, two basic eyes. Since she's slightly tipped, her head is slightly tipped down, this eye crease almost disappears right over the center of her eye. I don't know how that's going to come out in gouache. And her eyebrows are rather low over her eye. There's not a big space. As you can tell, I'm not being super careful, just sketchy. And her pupils, for her to be kind of looking up, her pupils, I think Christy said no matter what, I remember Christy, you said in one of your lessons, no matter what, the pupil's always in the center of the eye. But I'm breaking that rule. She's kind of looking up. I'm using a Graph Gear mechanical pencil, Graph Gear 500, and let's see, so now look, I totally ignored my grid lines. You see that? Now I'm going to have to move them because I didn't see. I don't even know if I should use grid lines because I just totally ignored them. Let's make a new one. It's going to go through two sides of her eyes. Let's see. And that's still not quite right. So if that's her eyes, and that's her eyebrows are still pretty good. I don't know, maybe I just like wonky faces, and that's why I never make grid lines or follow them. All right. Somebody commented lately they enjoy all my, you know, how do you pronounce it, foibles in my videos? Because, I don't know, this is the way I work. Nothing goes smoothly or as planned ever. But I do have fun. All right, so next I kind of put in this dark here just to give myself an idea of where her nose is going to go. And right about here, nostrils. I'm going to lower this one a little. A little shading above her lip. My breathing is pretty good today. Now, of course, later on when I listen to my video, I'll be like, oh, I can hear my breathing. I listened to an earlier video from over a year ago, and boy, I sounded like a different person. My breathing was so easy. My voice now sounds rough to me. So hopefully some of those issues will be resolved. So now her chin. Her ear is high. You know, normally you make it even with the nose, but like I said, she's kind of tipped down. Her ear is high. It's up here. And this one is up here. Nope, too low. You can tell instantly it's too low. All right, so this, still too low. And really, you don't see much of that ear in my reference picture on that side. All right, so now her hair. I sometimes struggle with foreheads. All right, her hair is going to come down. She has a center part that runs up here. And her hair comes down. This one comes more around, though. Now, her hair is just going to be loose. All right, her neck. I'm struggling with some glare on my iPad over there with all my lighting. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of deep shadows in my reference picture, but I'm going to have to invent or create a strong light source in my painting. Now, I don't like this side of her nose. I'm going to bring this down. Let's bring my reference picture over. And tilt this light away. All right, I cut out that whole fiddling around part. I had to shut off one of my lights because it was reflecting too much in the iPad. So, I just wanted you to see the reference picture, and I don't know. I wasn't going for an exact likeness, but it gives me an idea on how to shape it, what do you think? Now I'm going to put in just a little bit of shading so I can get a grip on. Now I have to make that decision. Which side is the light going to be? I'm going to put the light down from this side, I'm pretty sure. So let me change this. That's going to be the light side of her neck, and this is going to be the dark. That way we can have the darkest shading down here, under here, here, Okay. That's enough to get started. So, after this, I don't even know if I'm going to use the reference picture or not, or if I'm just going to wing it. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so here is my gouache collection. The first set I bought, I believe, was this. It was probably only, I don't know, it was probably only $5 at Michael's. And they actually work. They're okay. Savoir faire. I know there's a lot of glare on the plastic here. Second, I bought this bigger set of Reeves, and it's got a lot of colors. Okay, and I had made these markings for which were light fast, which were not, and now I can't even remember. I'm sure XX means it's not light fast. Of course, flesh tint, you know, is not light fast. And I don't know what the question marks are. I guess they don't have a rating on those. So those are my Reeves, and then I had a good coupon, a really good coupon, like 60% off, and I got a set of these Winsor Newtons, which are probably my best ones, at Michael's. And at Jerry's Artorama, they sell single tubes of Turner Design gouache, and I picked up a mixing white and a pink. If I do more gouache, I think I will buy more tubes this way. I don't know. So what I started with were these dollar store ice cube trays, believe it or not. And I put my gouache in there. Now see, these are the Reeves. And I swatched them out, and they do re-wet. They don't crack up. I'll show you what I mean by crack up. These are the Winsor & Newtons, and look how that's really hard to get re-wet. They do re-wet. I have used them. But a while ago, I think I'm pretty much done with these. I'll try and use them up, but I'm not going to add any more paint to these. Put those aside. What I bought was, all right, let me get rid of that. And this. I got a Mijello waterproof airtight palette. Isn't it nice? It was at Jerry's Artorama as well. I think it's $23.99 when I looked it up, but I had some sort of good coupon or some sort of special deal because I know I got it for a really good price. And it's been sitting there, and I'm going to set this up as my gouache palette. It's going to have to be a studio palette. I won't travel with it because if I've learned anything, you put all your paints in there, they dry up, and you do this, and then they all move. They all jump to different bins. So I'm not going to do this on camera. I have to figure out, I don't have enough bins for everything. So off camera, I'm going to figure out how to set it up. And for today, I'll have the luxury of painting with everything wet and fresh. After they dry up, it might be more of a struggle to get them re-wet again, but I'm looking forward to working with them today. I will be back. Okay, I'm back. That took a little while. Here's my palette set up. I cut a piece of watercolor paper, made a grid, wrote the colors. So this first 5 are my Winsor Newtons. The rest of that row and the whole next row are the Reeves, the big set. I decided not to put out 2 blacks. I'm not going to be using that much black today, and it'll be fresh and wet if I want to try it another time. Down here are my 2 Turners, my Turner Pink and my Mixing White, and I realized I probably did it wrong. I'm not putting any whites in here except for one, to keep one nice clean white. My other whites will be up here. White's the most important color in gouache, and they can get contaminated and mixed and whatever, but I probably put the wrong one here. It shouldn't have been a Mixing White. It probably should have been my Winsor Newton zinc white. But I can always change that later. This set will fit perfectly in here. I have 9 spaces left, minus the white, and I have 9 tubes left. I thought it was silly. I'm already overwhelmed with this many colors. I can't possibly use this many colors today. And I thought, well, just let me leave those for another time so they'll be fresh and wet. And I don't know. I was getting overwhelmed. So this is good to go. And it's a big palette. I don't know how I'm going to keep it in the picture so you can see what I'm doing. Let me close it up for a minute because I was looking at my girl. I hope she's in the screen. And I'm going to play with her just a little bit more before. Her face to me is too long. I'm going to shorten up her chin. Which will make her neck a little longer, but that's okay. Shorten up her chin. And maybe, I don't know. I guess that shortened it up a little bit. We'll see where it goes. All right. So I can get rid of my pencil and eraser. I got out, you know, I don't want to use good brushes for gouache. I have some flats, some angled, some rounds, a little tiny one, what do you call that, a filbert? And I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I have them ready. Let me check my screen. Hold on. All right, I'm going to go with this. I realize the whole palette doesn't fit in the screen, but it's a big palette. But I can't paint without my paper in front of me. To get the palette in, the paper has to be all the way over here, and I can't paint over there. So let me start with, oh, I'm kind of nervous. Let me start with a medium angled brush and some nice deep dark colors. I think I'm going to start with maybe some dark green. And I'm going to put in my darkest that's a little too thick. You want gouache to be nice and creamy so it flows on, but not thin like watercolor. And that's going on oddly thick. So let's see. Put a little dark here and here. Okay, just to start, it's all going to get covered over. Put my rag over here on my lap so I can blot my brush off really well. On the other side, I want to go with some oranges, I think. I'm going to go with the orange red. See, that's a little too thick. It doesn't want to, oh, and that's a little too wet. It's hard to find your in-between. Now the other green wasn't dry, so that started mixing on there. I didn't really want that. It's alright, it'll all cover over. Okay. I'm just putting down some colors. I can't even tell you if I have a method right now or not. I'm going to try and work all over the page, which will leave these paints some time to dry. I'm going to go with a nice bright yellow. I don't know. There's not a big difference between the Winsor Newton primary yellow and the lemon yellow. So let's try the Winsor Newton. Add a little smidge of water there. Probably, I might have added a little too much water there. There's a nice creamy consistency. I'm going to add a little up here. A little over there. Oops, got some green in her cheek. Clean my brush off a little. That green was still wet. I don't think I really wanted that much yellow on that side of her face. Okay, so let's move into some blues. I have some choices here. I have the primary blue, the ultramarine. I don't like the ultramarine. Blue Lake, which is kind of, I'm going to go with the primary blue. Add a little water to that. All right, so let's put in some eyebrows. Some of the darks of her eyes. White gouache is wonderful. You can put white back in any of these places. So I'm not worried about that. We can always add that back in. All right, where else? Let's see. I'm gonna start adding some blue there. Her hair is really going to be black, probably, but it's just nice to start blocking in colors underneath. Let's see. All right, the darkest section under here. We'll make blue. Right now she looks like a hot mess. Trust me, it'll all be fine. I think I'm going to start adding some darks in her lips. In her nostrils. I have a feeling her shirt is going to be blue, but her hair will be black. That blue will all just be peeking through in her hair. Okay. I'm going to put a little blue down in here. There's a little squeak in my table. Can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear it. Every time I move a little bit, the table squeaks. All right. So what do we have here? It's a good start. I'm going to clean my brush. I probably should let everything dry for a bit. And you know, maybe I could take this minute, I started putting some colors into the background and didn't continue. So let's take some of this, I think it was, did I use the orange red? I think I used, yeah, the orange red. Let's add some of that in here. And over here. That got a little too dry there. It's okay if it pulls a little of that blue in. All right. I think I'm going to move to a thinner brush. Let me get this one clean. And what brush do I want? I'm going to use this little thin brush. And I'm going to move into, I'm surprised how dark this burnt umber is. To me, that looks almost black. I don't like the gray though. I think instead of ivory black, I'm going to go with burnt umber now. burnt umber is right here, to start bringing in some details in her eyes, just so I know where I'm going. There's one. A little more water, it's so thick. The true test will be when these dry and I re-wet them. Can I get this nice creamy consistency? It's an eyebrow. Let's bring okay. Gonna bring this dark line in her lips because as I put the other paints over top, let's see. I don't know how dark I should go here. All right. I guess her eyes are going to be kind of a light blue. So let's take some Blue Lake. I'm going to add it. I don't know if that's light enough. Let's see. It looks pretty similar to the primary blue when I put it in. Take a little white. Mix in a little white. Go back to some of the burnt sienna. Make it real thin. Some mixing white. You have to keep trusting me here. It will be fine. Okay. Now it's time. I think a lot of that is dry. It's time to start smoothing out her face a little bit. I don't want her face super smooth. I want to see brush strokes. But right now she's got, too much color in her face. So I think I'm going to go with this filbert brush. I'm not sure. And I don't know if I want to go with maybe I will. I'll try the flesh tint. Let's see what happens. I'm going to wet it, get it nice and creamy. It's too dark. Let me put my mixing white out here. Up till now, I've pretty much applied paints directly, you know, without mixing. But I should start mixing some over here now. I want a flesh tint, but I want it really light. I hope you can see past my hand what I'm doing. Now she doesn't look quite so alien, right? Be careful going back and reworking like I am here, because it'll start pulling up your under layers. And I just want a nice coat on top. I'm going to have to make some more. Go through a lot of white. A little bit of flesh tint. Mix that in. A little bit of water. Oops, got too much blue on my brush. I'll use it up down here. And clean, I hate to clean my brush out. Maybe I can use it. There's a lot of paint in my brush, I don't want to rinse it out. That's alright. Now I have to clean it out though, to go back to this part of her face. I should let it dry. She looks kind of pissed, doesn't she? She's got like a, I don't know, maybe if I change the mouth. Let's work on the mouth a little bit while the face is drying. I'm going to get a small angled brush. Alright, so for her mouth, I'll take a little bit of that orange, but I want to pink it up. Add a little primary red. That's not thick enough. Let that dry. That'll get a lot more layers on it. I'm going to grab some of that flesh tint. I'm going to work here. Where to next? Back to some burnt sienna. I know what I want and I know what I'm looking for, and right now I'm not getting it. So I'm going to go back to this angled brush. I'm going to mix up some pretty pinks, okay? So let's take some white. Oop. I don't know. Let's try this bright, the Turner pink. Mix it in with some of this white. Make a nice thick. Now let's see. I want to brighten her up. She's looking muddy. She's really pink, but I will be adding white back on top of that. Mix up some more pink. Let's put some pink over here. It is definitely time for me to take a break. I need to walk away. I need to regroup and get some nice tall drink of water, and let's see what happens. All right, I regrouped a little bit. Took a break, stretched, got some water. And I think I'm going to leave her face alone for a bit, even though it needs a heck of a lot more work, and start working on the background and her hair. So I need some nice creamy black, I think. I don't know if I should start with black or gray. You know what? I'm going to go with the burnt sienna. It's very close to black. It's a nice dark. So here goes. I want nice darks. I want to leave a little bit of those colors I put down peeking through. She'll get a lot more layers on top of this dark. Not a lot to say. I'm just covering over. I had ears under there, remember? I'm just covering them over. Okay, let's let that, a little more back here. Let's let that dry. And think about the background. Now I never ended up putting any color up there. I think I'm going to bring in some of that bright pink. I'm going to put a layer of white across a lot of that. This is just, I don't know, what would you call it? An underlayer? Undercoat? Let's see, I'll get some more pink. Bring it over here. Okay. Nice, colorful background. My water is getting filthy, but I do have 2 jars. So after I rinse in that dirty jar, I'll have to rinse in the clean jar. Now, I don't know if the background's going to be plain or if I'm going to put maybe some flowers back there. I think it would be pretty to put flowers on top of that color. Maybe a negative painting. But give me a minute. I'm going to actually dry this with the dryer so I can keep going. I will edit the dryer part out. All right. So to continue working on her hair, I don't want to introduce new colors. You know, my tendency is to think, maybe I should put some purple in there. But I've got enough colors in this piece, so I'm going to use colors I already have. So I'm going to take some mixing white and a little bit of the burnt sienna. for some light, super light, creamy gray, almost a dove gray. And let's see. I'm going to hold my brush all the way back here, so I'm nice and loose. Now I'm starting to pick up some of the dark. Let me mix some more in, some more white in, smidge of water. Let's look at this side. It almost feels like it's too many strokes. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, I should be more mindful and put less big strokes on rather than all these little messy ones. Let that dry. Gouache is just so nice. You can make so many layers. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to some dark. You ever get the feeling you really don't know what you're doing? Alright. I'm still going to leave her face alone for a little while. Let me get some more white, put it over here. Thin it down, start working on this background. And while I'm at it, maybe I'll be bold and put a few white highlights on her face. I just want to soften up that background a bit, blend it. I might leave the really bright next to her neck there, I'm not sure. Do you see what I'm aiming for? But I'm going to take another brush because this is bothering me over here. I'll just take this little brush. Her shoulder should continue all the way out here. That was low. There. Don't know why that was bothering me. Let's clean the white out of the brush. I dropped my towel. There we go, got it. That white in my brush had gotten really contaminated. I'm going to switch over to the Winsor Newton zinc white for in her face. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. It's really thick. Add enough water. Make it movable. It's almost like it dried up in that tube. I hope that doesn't happen. Okay. Let's look at some of the whitest. There. Here. 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 Put some down this side of her neck. I'm pretty unhappy with her nose. And her mouth needs quite a bit of work. I'm gonna grab some more of this flesh tint. It'll re-wet here. I want a thin coat that'll move around really nicely. Maybe warm it up with a little bit of this orange and pink. Now she's too pasty. I'm going to go back to that orange red. That's a beautiful color. Let's see if I can just add some of that back in. I lost too much of that. That's the nice thing about gouache, though. It's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, layer, layer, layer. She's definitely more interesting that way, don't you think? I'm gonna get some more. I had some nice light white left over here. I'm going to add a little bit of white over here. Told you this was going to be a long video, didn't I? Maybe in the editing I will speed some up. I don't know. Okay, she's getting there. I told you it would be all right. I need some bright white. I have some zinc white left out here. See if I can get it the right consistency to lay down some serious highlights in her hair. Although, I don't know if they should be white or if they should have a little tint of color. Because what it'll do is it'll just make her look like she has gray hair. All right, the last big problem area is definitely her mouth. and still her nose. I'm going to take some of this light orange white on a tiny brush, and let's lighten up her nose a little. Using colors I have out mixed on my palette. Grab some white for that side. And I got to get a little dark back over on this side. Basically, I think I just kind of made her nose a little too wide. But I tend to like big noses on the girls I paint. I have noticed. Okay, that's... Her nose looks a little crooked, huh? I can fix some of that with a white highlight. I'm going to let that dry and go over it. Jill, you're messing with it while it's wet. All right, what are we going to do with that mouth? Okay. I need a nice dark red. I need to cover over a lot of that. Let's see what this looks like. My brush is probably too small. Sorry for the sniffles. Apologize. This might be dry enough now. Let's see if I can get some bright, bright white. Right there. Go to a slightly bigger, it's just a angled flat brush. Time to bring these whites back out. Alright, only a few last things on this painfully long video. I still don't know whether I'm going to fast forward or leave it real time. I'm sorry for those of you that don't like watching a long video. If I leave it, you'll have to just fast forward. A few things I didn't mention. I am working on a piece of Canson watercolor paper, not in my journal. I'm looking at this and looking at this, and there's a few things I'm not happy with. One is that her hair on this side looks kind of curly, on this side looks straight, and there's some up here but not up here, so I'm going to take a risk and see if I can change that a little. So the first thing I need is some of this burnt umber to see if I can make this look a little that's okay, that breaks it up a little. I'm alright with that. Now I need to get a much lighter, you mix it up with this to make a lighter gray, and see if I can one more lighter color. That white dried up there. Before I walked away to take a long break, I sprayed my palette to keep it wet and keep it from drying out on top. I don't know if that does it or not. Let's see. These are just silly little things that were bothering me. I don't even know if they're worth fixing or not. Okay, that's enough of that. Now, her shirt. Do I leave her shirt like that? Somehow, the brightness and the intensity of it, to me, doesn't match the rest of the painting. So, I'm going to put a little more, let's use the Turner mixing white. I'm going to put a little more right there in that gray pink area. And I'm going to take my filbert brush, wet it, and let's mix this white with a little bit of that gray and a little bit of that peach, so I don't have a bright white color. Some water so it's nice and thin and smooth. And let's just try toning this shirt down a little. See what I mean there? Now it just kind of matches the rest of the picture. I think she might be done. There are a lot of things I would do differently if I were to do this again. She didn't come out like I wanted her to, but she is pretty. I hope this video is worthwhile your time watching. If you want to try some gouache and never tried it before, this video is slow enough you should be able to work along with it. You could also do, I suppose, the same thing with acrylics. So let me know what you think. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I love hearing your comments, and I try my best to respond to all of them. So I hope you have a beautiful holiday weekend, and I will see you in the next video.